we got to a point at the end of 2022 where our largest center was closing classrooms every week. So, the first week of the month, they would close the infants. Second week, they close 1-year-olds. Third week, they close 2-year-olds, etc. And for parents who have multiple children, which many of us do, that means you're trying to find childcare for your children for multiple weeks every single month. That's not something that allows for you to work in a consistent manner. And then what that meant was some of our workforce outside of childcare, a lot of times it was in financial institutions, they were losing workers because they needed to be home caring for their kids. So we were really in a difficult situation. And it's something that we had all been talking about for years. And I think many communities still, I think most communities are probably still talking about the childcare crisis. But solutions were harder to come by. Everyone has ideas, but at the end of the day, how do you get more workers into a center? We have to raise their wages, is what it came down to.
This is the Chamber Chat Podcast, the show dedicated to chamber professionals to spark ideas and to get actionable tips and strategies to better serve your members and community. Hello, Chamber Champions. Welcome to Chamber Chat Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Burton, and here on the show, I introduce you to people and ideas to better help you serve your chamber members and your community. You're joining us for a special episode in our 2026 ACCE Chamber of the Year Finalist Series, and today we're joined by Colleen Frein, President and CEO of the Greater Mason City Chamber of Commerce. Colleen joined the Chamber in 2015 and was promoted to President and CEO in 2023. She brings a strong background in leadership, communications, and community engagement, including a decade as an award-winning multimedia journalist in Iowa. Colleen holds an MBA from the University of Iowa and has earned both the CCE designation and the IOM designation from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. She is also active in statewide chamber leadership and community development work with a particular passion for expanding access to child care for families. Her career reflects a deep commitment to advocacy, collaboration, and building stronger communities. Colleen, I'm excited to have you with us today here on Chamber Chat Podcast. First of all, huge congratulations to you and your team for being selected as Chamber of the Year finalists.
Thank
But I'd love
you.
to give you an opportunity to say hello to all the Chamber champions who are out there listening and to share something interesting about yourself so we can all get to know you a little.
Sure. So I'm so thankful to have the opportunity to share more about our chamber and just to chat with you. I love talking chamber. Don't we all?
Right?
You asked me to think about something interesting about me. And so I'm going to go with, I have been a non-professional, so absolutely amateur power lifter for several years now. I started back in 2018, I think. And unfortunately, I kind of say that with sadness because I hurt my shoulder 6 months ago and had to have surgery on it. So I'm not powerlifting much right now. But yeah, it's kind of a fun way for me to work out the aggression after a long day of chambering.
Yes. Yeah,
And also a fun way to keep in shape and running after my son.
that's right. So do you compete? Like, do you
I
go to
used
the
to, yeah.
competitions?
Yep. So I would compete, again, very amateur. Really, the competition was just to give myself a goal to work up to. And just to be clear, when we say powerlifting, I'm not talking about the spray tan.
Right. Not
That kind.
bodybuilding. It's
It's just
powerlifting.
lifting
Yeah,
a bunch of weight and putting it back down.
that's right. So my daughter, she just graduated high school, but she was a power lifter all through high school. And
That's
it's a
fantastic.
awesome sport. And I love seeing girls and women, participating in it because I think there used to be a stigma around weightlifting and it's
Yes.
something that is good for everybody. So until
Yes.
you hurt your
There's that, like,
shoulder,
women shouldn't get bulky. And you won't. And if you do, good for you.
yes, that's right. You
That is
overcome
a source of
the
pride.
That's right.
I never got to that point. But no,
That's
it's
cool.
definitely a fun and it's a lifelong sport that you can do forever unless you have to have shoulder surgery and then it's a bit of a pause. So
That's right.
I'm
That's right.
powerlifting 1 pound right now, which is really sad.
Now, because I know the sport, do you lift equipped or unequipped?
Unequipped.
Unequipped. All right.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes. I'm just plain Jane.
That's real strength. So
Yeah.
awesome. Well, tell us about the Greater Mason City Chamber. Give us an idea of the size of the chamber, staff, scope of work you guys are involved with, budget, just to set the stage for our discussion.
Love to. So the Greater Mason City Chamber of Commerce is celebrating 110 years this year. of existence. We are one of the older chambers, and we are proud to say that we still have several members who have been with us the entire 110 years, which I think is pretty remarkable that there are businesses that have been in business that long, not just our chamber. We have about 650 chamber members, probably much like many other chambers. We're really proud to share that about 70% of our membership has 10 or fewer employees. So while we know that the big guys are the ones who write the big checks, the big work that we do is on behalf of our smallest members. And that has really been a focus for us in recent years, is making sure that we are supporting the ones that are 1 to 10 employees and are really just trying to get through their business day every day.
Yeah.
Make payroll at the end of the week.
Yeah. Yeah. So that definitely, helps to kind of get that perspective to understand who the businesses are that you're serving and the programs and the work that you guys are about. On these Chamber of the Year episodes, I like to focus primarily on the programs that get submitted on the Chamber of the Year applications. And being you guys are a finalist this year, you guys are kind of at the top of your game. So we'd love to learn from those who are doing great work. So we'll take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll dive into the program and learn more about what you guys are doing to make an impact in your community.
Hi, I'm Joe.
And I'm Rose.
And we're the founders of At My Community, a mobile app that can be customized to meet the unique needs of your Chamber of Commerce.
When we started At My Community, we envisioned a tool that would help communities thrive by simplifying communication and enhancing engagement. Chambers of Commerce face unique challenges, and we're here to help you tackle them.
At My Community helps the Evergreen Area Chamber of Commerce to create an app that keeps tourists informed even when their office is closed. They provide 24/7 access to local business information, which helps support the local economy and community engagement.
In Rocky Mountain House, we helped Rocky Chamber create an app with dynamic itineraries and digital resources for tourists, increasing local business engagement. The app has become an essential tool for the community, promoting events and boosting visibility for local merchants.
Today, we empower more than 200 chambers of commerce, campgrounds, and RV resorts to streamline communication, informing members about events, sharing business updates, and providing a digital hub for the community, all in one convenient app.
When you partner with At My Community, our team works closely with you to create an app that meets your chamber's unique needs. As your community grows, our app evolves with you. We are here to ensure you engage effectively with your members and streamline your operations.
Schedule a demo today at atmycommunity.com.
We can't wait to meet you.
Are you ready to take your organization's funding to the next level? Hi, I'm Clint Neesmith, CEO of Resource Development Group. As a Chamber of Commerce or Economic Development Organization leader, I know you understand the value of working with experts who understand your world. And that's exactly what RDG does best. For over 30 years, RDG has specialized in fundraising for EDOs and chambers. We bring cutting-edge strategies tailored to your organization, whether you're just starting out or gearing up for yet another new funding cycle. Importantly, our firm executives are hands-on from start to finish, from the feasibility study to the successful conclusion of your fundraising campaign. And our team brings deep industry roots and national expertise to every engagement. No matter the size of your community, RDG delivers data-driven, innovative revenue solutions, reinforcing ROI to investors and making sure your vision becomes reality. At RDG, we proudly build organizations that build communities. Visit us today at rdgfundraising.com and let us partner with you, building a stronger future for your organization and the community you are working to grow and develop.
All right, Colleen, we're back. So as I mentioned before the break, we're going to dive into the program that you get submitted on your Chamber of the Year application. I believe it has to do with childcare. So if you want to give us the introduction, what is it about? How did it originate? How has it evolved? And the impact it's making in your community? We'll go from there.
Sure. And I have to say, Brandon, it does occur to me that this is really good practice for our interviews coming up.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate that. So Childcare Works is the synopsis that we submitted for our Chamber of the Year application. Childcare Works is a program that launched 4 years ago, actually. It was really an effort to try to solve the really difficult challenge of childcare shortages in our region. If you can remember back to 2022, 2021 was really when we started thinking about this. This was coming out of the pandemic. So during the pandemic, there was a lot of extra funding put into childcare kind of as an emergency stopgap, right? Specifically in 2020 to make sure that our firefighters, police, hospital, the ones who were working on the trenches had childcare and could go to work and support through that crisis. But then coming out of it, what we found was childcare centers didn't have the staff any longer that they used to have because they had lost staff due to a myriad of reasons. One, they didn't have as many kids under their care, and people left the workforce during COVID. So childcare centers had lost their staffing. And in the meantime, people were going back to work and needing that care more and more. And it kind of became, and then they lost all of that extra funding that had come as that emergency funding that came during COVID. That kind of expired, went away generally around 2021, at least in our state. And so they were really in a difficult position. And what that looked like in our county is that, our childcare workers were making very low wages. We did a survey at the beginning of this program and found they were making about $9 an hour starting wages, which is not enough if you are taking care of a family and, have kids at home, or even if you're just single and trying to make rent every week or every month, it's not enough. So they weren't making much money. Hard to recruit people into an industry when wages are that low. And our centers were in a really difficult situation where they couldn't take on more kids because they didn't have the staffing. And the staffing they did have were working overtime. Most of them were working 50, 60 hours a week just to fill and to make sure they could care for the kids that were there. At the biggest kind of crisis point in our area, we got to a point at the end of 2022 where our largest center was closing classrooms every week. So, the first week of the month, they would close the infants. Second week, they close 1-year-olds. Third week, they close 2-year-olds, etc. And for parents who have multiple children, which many of us do, that means you're trying to find childcare for your children for multiple weeks every single month. That's not something that allows for you to work in a consistent manner. And then what that meant was some of our workforce outside of childcare, a lot of times it was in financial institutions, they were losing workers because they needed to be home caring for their kids. So we were really in a difficult situation. And it's something that we had all been talking about for years. And I think many communities still, I think most communities are probably still talking about the childcare crisis. But solutions were harder to come by. Everyone has ideas, but at the end of the day, how do you get more workers into a center? We have to raise their wages is what it came down to. This didn't come just chamber, I should say. So stepping back, this wasn't just the chamber that created this solution. This was a partnership between the chamber, our county public works, public health office. So county public health was the other kind of main leader on this. And then our school system, a couple of our larger childcare centers, Childcare Resource and Referral, which is a statewide organization that supports childcare providers, and the community college, and our YMCA. And our EDC was the other partner that we had in this. So we had a lot of great people that came to the table and said, we have to figure out a solution. We were really fortunate to receive a grant from the Du Beaumont Foundation to kickstart this progress. So if there's kind of a lesson number one that we received or we learned from this, it's look for that grant funding, right? And be creative about it. So the grant that we applied for was a public health grant that was specifically to solve a public health crisis in your community, which many people might not think of childcare necessarily as a health crisis, but we were able to frame it in a way that we all know it really is. It causes parents to not have the money that they need to buy food if they aren't making the wages they need, if they don't have care for their kids and they have to stay home. It brings them, all the things we know about childcare. So we were able to frame it in a way that they said, this is unique and different. And they funded us $100,000 to kickstart us, which was incredible. And the cool thing about this grant, I will praise them up and down, is it really had no parameters. The grant funding was provided and the outcome was try to solve the problem and we'll give you the resources to help.
That's awesome.
Right. There was no you have to do this by the end or show us what your outcome is. It was just show us that you're making progress. So it was incredible. And actually, kudos to ACCE. We had a partner from ACCE that was there throughout the process as well to help people who didn't have chambers already working with them on these public-private partnerships to think about how to get the business voice at the table, because that's so important. So that's how our program was really kickstarted, was through this great work of people who cared, getting this grant that really kickstarted our effort, and then digging down and having those resources to try to think about solving the problem. Again, we found wages were the problem. Wages were the challenge that we were facing. So the solution that we came up with was a wage supplement bonus of $2 an hour for every childcare worker that earned $20 or less in our county. And that's most of them. Most childcare workers are not making more than $20. And we intended to kickstart fundraising at the end of 2022 and launch in 2023, but got really fortunate. Again, we just there's a piece in there that is you have to be ready when the luck happens, right? So as luck would have it, in September of 2022, the state of Iowa had extra COVID funding, extra ARPA funds, and they decided to spend it on childcare. And they said, anyone with a basically shovel-ready idea, let us know and we'll fund it. At the time, it was going to be a one-to-one match, and we said, bet. But the thing is, we had to fundraise as much as we could by the end of September. Whatever we had fundraised by the end of September, they would match one-to-one. So we had about 2.5 weeks, which is wild. And we hadn't even formalized our plan, right?
Yeah.
So we were ready-ish when the magic or when the luck happened. But we just went for it. We said, we're never going to be fully ready. We just have to start. And so that was really where chambers come in. We have the relationships with those businesses. And I just started door to door, basically going to the folks who I knew were already interested in this space and asking them to help fund this. And it was kind of a whim and a prayer, right? We had no knowledge that this would work. We thought it would. We didn't know if it would be able to be funded for how long, but we just said, put your trust in us. Here's the research we've done. We think that this is the best solution that's out there. And we were able to raise about 250. Wait, I'm off on that because we got 600. So we raised about $320,000 in those 3 weeks that we had there. So incredible. Our businesses stepped up, which was just amazing. And then the state, unfortunately, there weren't a lot of other communities that were able to come up this quickly with a proposal. So the state ended up funding us 2-to-1 match. So we received $644,000 to kickstart this project.
Wow.
And so for 3 years, that's what we did. We paid our workers a bonus of $2 an hour. Every paycheck, they get that bonus. We were careful to make sure that it said in there that this is a bonus so that it's different from their wages. But what we found is in this now almost 3 years since we launched, staffing has gone up at our childcare centers by about 25, which is an incredible increase. Our wait lists are down about 70%, give or take, on the week. And we haven't had to close classrooms. One of the other great things that we added into this was, in order to qualify for this bonus funding, the centers had to be quality rated in our state. And so when we started, we only had 3 centers that were quality rated, but within a couple of months, the other ones got on board and got themselves quality rated. And now all of the centers in our county are, it's called IQ 4K quality rated. So really kind of an extra boost of not only are we increasing the volume of care, but also the quality of care that we're measuring in our.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love getting that background. And you're right. When a worker's not, earning enough wages, then you start making compromises, and it really does become a public health issue because they're making, maybe they're skipping medications, maybe they're buying poor quality food, or more highly processed food, or all the different things.
Maybe their
You
housing
make
situation
compromises.
isn't what it should be.
Yeah. So kudos to you guys for thinking outside the box and how to apply that as a public health concern. So do you guys have a foundation there at the chamber that these funds are going into? Or are they going to the chamber? Yeah.
We do. Yeah. So this all was funneled through our chamber foundation. We've had a foundation since 2001, so about 25 years now. And this is what it's used for, right? Is really, we try to, the things that don't fit elsewhere and are these kind of not just nonprofit, but charitable funding.
Right.
That's where this really fit nicely into. And that was a great bonus for the businesses that invested, is that this was through a foundation that they could use this as a tax
It's a
write-off.
tax write-off.
They were doing good in our area too. Yeah.
Yeah. Which leads into my next question with fundraising. I mean, that's super impressive to raise 320,000 in like 2.5 or 3 weeks or so. What was the approach? How did you guys go after it? And did you have a short list of people to call, or how did you guys do that?
Well, I think it all kind of begins with the relationships, right? So because we had been in this childcare space for several years prior, and talking with our members about it, I knew which businesses already felt like this was a priority. We had businesses that basically were feeling that like we want to do something, but we can't do it. We're not going to open a childcare center.
Right.
We're not going to be the ones that find the solution, but we'll help fund a solution.
That's right.
So, the first thing was setting up those giving levels was kind of scary at first because I wanted to go big. And there were some that were in our committee that were not used to doing those big asks, but I felt that we had to ask big. And what's the worst thing that could happen? We get shot down, right?
Yeah.
So our largest employer in town, Curry's, that was really supportive of all of the work we do at the chamber, but especially the work that we had been doing around childcare. They were the first ones, and they were actually my first meeting. They were the first ones to step up and commit to $50,000 a year for 3 years. So that was kind of our big fish. And once we had them on board and put their name on everything, we were able then to go and kind of gauge the investments that we were asking based off of what Curry's had given and then how others were feeling on it. We had a lot of meetings. I split them up primarily between myself and our partner over at CG Public Health. Kelly took on quite a few of the meetings as well. But really, it was just going back to those relationships we had. We weren't going in with a cold ask in that way. We had been having that conversation for a while. So now it was coming with, we have a solution, we have matching funds, and we need you to make a decision like this week.
Right. Right.
So I have worked to our strength because I think that what we have found since is when you have a timeline and you say, I need you to make a decision this week, they make that decision. When you don't have a timeline and you say, we'd like this money, can you let us know? Sometimes then it has to go through corporate processes and and it can just get lost in, time kills deals. So I think that the short time frame really works in our favor.
Yeah, absolutely. And childcare really it's a workforce issue too. So if you go to those big employers and they can see making that investment is going to be a direct investment in their business as well by being able to have a stronger workforce. So I'm curious with funds going to the foundation, you have the matching funds that came in. Is there an estimate at how long these funds will last with the $2 an hour bonus? Or is there a way to kind of perpetuate that longer? What's the plan look like?
Yeah, so we knew going into this that it was not sustainable for us to be giving $2 an hour in perpetuity. That was one of my sticking points from the beginning. Our role as a chamber is to be looking out for our businesses. And I felt very strongly, while I'm passionate about finding solutions for childcare, I don't think that businesses should be shouldering the brunt of the burden alone. And so from the get-go, we made sure that it was a 3-year commitment. And our goal was in that 3 years, we would start teetering down how much was provided as a bonus, and the centers would absorb that additional funding so that organically their wages would go up while our bonus kind of dropped off. And that's what we've been able to have happen. So we started teetering down last fall to $1. And we are currently at the 50 cents an hour right now. And our centers have been able to absorb that difference in there and make sure those wages were sustained. Because the whole thing going into this was they needed the staff in order to have the kids, in order to have the money so that they could pay the staff. So it was this big circle. So basically we kind of injected the money
there. Yeah.
And hoped that the rest of the circle would work. Because at the end of the day, we face, economic changes. And right now we're in a time, I don't think that if I was going out to these businesses and asking for as much as I asked for 3 years ago, that I would have gotten the same responses. And I could, we're just in a different economic time. It's less certain. And so there was a lot that was timing in how this worked out. So we're teetering down, and we're actually in the process now of moving to a semi-annual bonus format instead. So now that the wages have been brought up to where we think is at least a more sustainable living wage, if not an actual living wage, that part has been solved. We still want to support. So we'll be doing semi-annual bonuses starting this fall to support workers who've been there for 6 months or more. So really supporting those
I like
the
that.
retention pieces of it.
Yeah.
So
Have
we're
that
hopeful
longevity aspect to it. Yeah.
exactly. Yes. And we have found some long-term supporters of this program, some foundations that want to support the work we're doing that work in the childcare space as well, who are committing to a longer term investment in that way. So we're excited for that. We know that will be sustainable longer, and we're excited about how what we've done has really already changed that influence. I should also say some of what we're doing has no funding at all were tied to it. We also created a program through this called Childcare Ready, which is in our high schools. And basically, it's a 6-month credential program that is available for high school juniors and seniors. And they spend that 6 months doing all the training they need to work in a childcare center. So they get their background screens, fingerprints, CPR. They do all of the required testing and everything that you would normally do once you get hired, and sometimes takes several months before you could work one-on-one with kids. So they go through all of that at the high school. And then as part of their training, they do interviews with all of our centers and are able to start working in our centers at that point. So we're trying to
Awesome.
also create a pipeline of people working in the industry in addition to the pay aspect of it too.
I like that. It's not just the one focus, right? It's
Yeah.
the one focus to kickstart it. Then you've got the long-term vision, you got the pipeline feeding into it. So you guys are definitely committed to the work. So I'm trying to think for the chambers listening who maybe they didn't, jump on the boat in 2022 when there was, the funding out there that
When
was
all the
floating
money was
around so
there.
freely, right? But for somebody who's still seeing that childcare is an issue in their communities, there's nothing to stop them from doing fundraising to follow some type of a pattern like that. But I
Absolutely.
imagine there's still some grants out there in certain states, and just look around to different organizations. But there's answers out there as long as you roll up your sleeves and get into it, right?
Yeah, and I think the big takeaway that we found with this was we kind of just tried it. We spend a lot of time thinking about solutions and kind of weighing back and forth and will this work or won't this work? But we just kind of jumped in and said, we're going to try it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But we have to do something. We have to stop the bleeding is kind of what we kept saying. And so I think we spend a lot of times in meetings, right? Where we go back and forth and try to think of solutions, and then we push that off to the next meeting. And in this case, we just said, we just have to go. And I think that really was a big lesson learned is sometimes you just have to jump.
Yep, that's right. Absolutely. Well, I like asking on behalf of those listening who are interested in taking their organization up to the next level, what kind of tip or action item would you leave for them as they to strive towards that goal?
Yeah, I think that one tip that I would have in kind of reframing back to our synopsis that we shared in this way, but this goes across all of the work that we do, is really just make sure that you're having conversations, not just with your board, but with your members on a regular basis about what your priorities are and what their priorities are. And that those conversations aren't just happening, once a year when your annual report goes out or at your annual meeting, but you have constant touch points. I've heard recently that you used to have to put something in front of somebody 7 times for them to register. Now it's like 21 times, maybe more. So you really have to, get that out there. But that's how you're able to do things at a fast pace when you need to, because it's not the first time they're hearing about the issues you're working on, or it's not the first time you're hearing about the issues that they're facing. This is something that's been building, and you've already built that level of trust that they understand you and you understand them. And I know that, communication is not something that is new to chambers. This isn't a novel idea. Talk to your members. But I think it's about being really diligent about it and making it a priority and thinking about it. My predecessor, Robin Anderson, who you talked with
Yes.
years ago when we were up for this award before, she used to say 10 before 10, make 10 touches before 10 a.m. with people. And that doesn't just mean responding to the emails that are piling up in your inbox, but 10 intentional touches with people who you need to reach out to or that you want to reach out to. And I think that that's a really important thing to do, is just being intentional about your communication.
I love that advice. That's so valuable. And if you do that, the 10 before 10 method,
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
going to really chart your work for you too, because you're going
Yeah.
to get that feedback and know what needs to be done and what your community needs. So, well, Colleen, I like asking everyone I have on the show about the future of Chambers and what your outlook is. How do you see the future of Chambers and their purpose going forward?
Of course, going back to ACCE Horizons, our Horizons report, I think that in my mind, the most important role of a chamber is as convener. That's how we were able to succeed in our Childcare Works effort, was by convening the right people to the table. But it's not just about convening for certain projects. It's convening for joy. It's convening for purposes of knowledge and education, and putting the right people together when you need to have those conversations. And I think chambers are uniquely situated to know who should be in the room and who should not. That's very
It's just as
important.
important. Yeah. Yeah.
And how to tactfully tell people when they should not and why, and not lose friends in the process, and how to tactfully tell people you need to be here, and not to force them into the room, but to open that door and make them feel valued and understood why they should be in that space. So I really think convening is at the heart of everything we do.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's very well said. Well, I wanted to give you an opportunity to share any contact information for listeners who may want to reach out and connect and learn more about how the Greater Mason Area Chambers, or how the Greater Mason City Chamber is approaching things, especially with childcare or anything else. Where would you point them, and what would be the best way for them to connect?
For sure. Well, of course, go to our website, masoncityia.com. We got a whole new refresh this year, so you might just also enjoy checking out our newly done website.
It is a pretty slick website. I was on it this morning. It's very nice.
For those of us who have been through website redesigns recently, it's a long process, but well worth the effort. You can find my contact information on there, but you can also just email me, Frein, my first name, Frein, Frein, my last name, at masoncityia.com is my email. Our cell phone, or not our cell phone, our phone is on there as well, but email is usually, or you can find me on the socials. I'm on LinkedIn. Find me on there. I'm fairly active as much as I can be on there too. And I do really enjoy meeting and chatting with other chamber professionals around the country, because I think we all have so much we can learn from each other, or just commiserate with each other.
That's right. Sometimes that's what you need, is a good therapy session.
Yeah.
So, that's perfect. Well, we'll get your contact information in our show notes and make it nice and easy to connect. But thank you so much for putting aside some time and joining us here on the show and really highlighting the impact you guys are making there in Mason City. I really appreciate it. And congratulations again to you and your team. And I wish you guys best of luck as Chamber of the Year.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to share.
If you are a chamber professional, be sure to subscribe to Chamber Chat Podcast on your favorite podcast app, or now on YouTube, so you never miss a new episode. New episodes are released each week and delivered right to you. If you're finding value in the podcast, please take a moment to leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. It really helps others discover the show. And most importantly, share Chamber Chat Podcast with your colleagues in the industry so we can continue to grow and strengthen the chamber community together.
One thing I see over and over with chambers is a big focus on talent attraction and workforce development. But what often gets overlooked is retention. That's where Mike Conn really brings something different to the table.
When you invest in people, you know what happens? Their leadership increases exponentially. And when you help leadership increase exponentially on an individual level, an organizational level, a community level, then the culture just gets better and better and better.
Mike gives businesses practical tools to build stronger culture, improve communication, and actually keep the great people they've worked so hard to attract. If you're looking for a way to bring real tangible value to your members through workforce and talent retention, and even earn some non-dues revenue in the process, then what Mike has to offer is a game changer. To learn more, visit chamberchatpodcast.com/Mike Conn to learn more about all that Mike has to offer.